Шановні колеги, будемо продовжувати робочий день в Українському кризовому медіа-центрі. Дякую всім.
The topic of the next event is the when and what for the energy rating will be launched in Ukraine. Now has Hennadiy Zubko, Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Andriy Tsybulko, Head of the Association of Energy Auditors of Ukraine, and Vasil Liman, the President of the Managers of Housing. Please don't speak fast. We have the simultaneous translation. Hennadiy Zubko, you have the first floor. When I was coming to the center, the weather makes you to talk not just about putting on warm clothes, but how to warm up and modernize our housing and social institutions. Talking about energy efficiency in Ukraine, this is the task which is digitized by specific figures from the point of view of the capacity of the economy to provide heating. And that is why I would like to say that is our joint task. It's not just about the government or about some association. That is what concerns every Ukrainian family. Only together we can build the system which will allow us to make something from the point of view of energy consumption. Today, Ukraine has a roadmap. Having the agreement on association with the European Union and the agreement with the energy community, we have directives which could be executed in Ukraine. According to that, we developed two concepts on reforming in the direction of energy efficiency and the reform of thermal and energy complex. These are directives 27 and 31st. And these are on implementing the package of legislation from energy community. But that's more about the state, it's more about legislation. But without that, we will not be able to develop the platform, to implement the platform. The basic draft laws which are important for Ukraine and which are the foundation needed to move towards modernization, these are 4 draft laws which you see. First of all, the law on housing and communal services, and I believe that the head of the association will tell that it's waiting for the second reading in the parliament. The draft law on energy efficiency of houses, of buildings, we'll talk more about that. To say that the building is energy efficient, so that the building could be moved from one class to another to show the specific result. We need to do audit and certification, and the draft law on commercial accounting 4901. Unfortunately, during all 25 years of independence of Ukraine, it was beneficial to consume everything according to the norms. People were paying the bills, but no one was interested in how much they receive. Parallel to that, the corruption scheme was operating, and dozens of billions of hryvnias were lost by the budget. So the law on commercial accounting that provides for responsibility for who's installing, who's repairing, but also it establishes the term up to 2018. We need to finish all the commercial audit. Everything should be done so that the person pays the real price for consumed energy. And the law which has been passed already on specific features of the property rights in the house, and that is what is based on the client and its capacities. On the other hand, we are forming the instruments which will allow us to account for and manage the energy. And the basic law which we are discussing with international partners, we are hoping to attract the money from the European Union from energy, but the Energy Efficiency Fund has two functions. First, to provide technical support to every Ukrainian family or association of owners. And the second one is financial support. Financial support which will compensate the expenses of people to introduce such measures. A little bit on the law on energy efficiency of buildings. That is the digitalization of the results according to which the assistance could be provided to every Ukrainian family. Just to spend money for loans, to buy windows, it doesn't work. The result works. The result, if a family transfers the house into different category of energy consumption, that is why international partners are ready to compensate such expenditures to the Ukrainian family. What will energy audit give us? It gives us the instrument which will define the class of energy efficiency of buildings. It will allow practically to give to the client who will either lease, rent this house or apartment or buy it, will understand what they will pay for use of this premises. It allows to create the market of energy auditors. We don't have the legislative grounds on how to digitize their results. We need to pass these rules, and what is important, it gives us freedom. Every person selects, chooses energy audit, energy servicing company, or design organization. It is important that the current situation with thermal, with heating, allows us to implement energy efficiency. It is important to have diagnostics of buildings and the renovation plan, and also the conditions for the state support. We take into account not just the design of the house, but the consumption inside the house. The state doesn't participate in attestation of energy auditors. Universities prepare such energy auditors, but self-regulatory organizations make a decision on distributing this service. It is important that with this system there's no non-transparency, there's no corruption and other bureaucratic procedures. And that is why I would like to say that this is where we can show how the buyer or leaser in the future will pay for use of these premises, how enhancing the energy class by one category will lead to reducing energy consumption. If we take it from class A to class F, then it can result, or from class F to class A, it will result in 70% of saving. And also the influence of enhancing of energy class to the market cost of the houses. That is a practical situation which we need to implement to move along energy efficiency, towards energy efficiency. Without the laws on commercial accounting, on energy efficiency, on housing and communal services, on energy efficiency fund, to say that we'll not pay 52 billion for subsidies to help people to pay for housing and energy services, to talk about thermal insulation of buildings will be impossible. And second, I would like to say that there are many myths that that people will have to pay for audit. Different auditors will be imposed on people. I believe we need to show how the system could work transparently. And another thing is important, and that's on passing legislative changes and drafts, and that is joint work between the legislative branch, executive branch, which has to execute it in short period of time every month. And they have the money. That's 52 billion for a year for subsidies, because we have such a big, the citizens are consuming so much, and we see how consumption is reduced fivefold in other countries. It is important for us to pass this law, and this week the Parliament will be considering this package of draft laws on energy efficiency and enhancing the powers of our clients. Thank you.
Mr. Andriy Tsybulko. Does it work? Okay. Each energy efficiency project begins with the energy audit. Professionally carried out energy audit influences the targeted saving in energy resources. If energy auditor can correctly carry out this energy audit and offer the energy saving methods, then the customer, that is the households residing in this building, they would have this effect which they wish. The law on energy efficiency of buildings would launch the market of energy audit, and also installation of energy saving materials and modernization of buildings. We expect to launch the market and to see its growth. The energy auditors outputs will be published on a special website, and the attestation procedure for energy auditors will also be established. In the past, we had a very corrupt procedure for attestation of the energy auditors. But now, due to new law, we will have a training system and accreditation, and later the organizations or associations of energy auditors will be able to carry out this procedure themselves. So all the outputs of energy auditors will be published on website, and in case of any mistake, in case of any engagement or corruption, they will be exposed to the general public's attention, and all people would immediately know that this or that auditor was bribed by producers of windows or producers of thermal materials, insulators, etc. And now I invite Mr. Vasil. Thank you, Mr. Zubko, to very meaningful for very meaningful presentation. As you have seen, besides the draft laws, we expect that the law on utility services will be passed after second reading. It would allow us to pass a resolution about heating, about contract on heating, and it will open it or launch formation of the market of management on housing. The current law on the real estate property and management over this property, it laid the foundation, but the law about about utilities to residential housing inhabitants, it is needed to proceed with this sector. For managers of the residential housing, this law also will be very important because they would be able to carry out the energy audit, and thus we would know the professional assessment of energy auditors about communications in this house, about utility systems, and the owners of the buildings will have more information when planning the thermomodernization of buildings and other utility services. That's why we hope for successful passage of this law. I would like to add that we have very good slogan at the background: saving money and energy, mission possible. I think that we have to contribute to make this to happen, and that it's fair when people pay for what they consume. What is in common with the two draft laws that we wish to pass? We need to get technical passports for the houses. We have to start the energy audit. Up to 80% of multi-storied buildings in the country, these are typical serial makes or types of buildings, and we can create the typical or model set of measures to strengthen energy efficiency. This proves that having planned the standard measures for each series of buildings, we would be able to control them later, how they are implemented and fulfilled. And I believe that those Ukrainian households who live in private houses, in multi-storied buildings, in condominium, designers, organizations, producers of thermal insulation, all these people are interested to boost this market. We are able to create 45,000 of additional jobs in this area. This is important from the balance of payments in Ukraine, and to collect additional revenues to the budget. This procedure had been being postponed for 25 years in Ukraine because our leaders kept saying that it was for the benefit of Ukrainian families, while they wish to preserve dependence from our northern neighbors. Actually, this process, which we discussed today, is important for each Ukrainian household. I am very grateful to the leaders of condominium, to the leaders of managing companies who take proactive positions. Because having reformed the energy sector in a housing area, we would be able to start the energy saving revolution in this country. We have to build up the system of heating for a cluster of several buildings in one district, and thus to get rid of our CHPs and heating pipelines, which take a lot of energy, are very energy consuming and energy wasting. Ksenia Barvinenko, first municipal TV channel from Odessa. Mr. Zubko, a question to you. Who should initiate the energy audit in a building, and who will pay? The owner of the building has to commission for this energy audit. Well, now we are trying to define who is the owner of the building. Now we try to create a roadmap for such the building owner who will be able to find best company and pay. The owner has to pay for this. And now we are at the same time thinking how to assist this owner in remuneration of these expenses. Currently, we have the Energy Efficiency Fund, and the Energy Efficiency Fund would pay 50% for energy audit. And depending on the energy saving measures, depending on the energy rating of the building, the money would be saved. The issue is that we have to establish this energy audit market. We should have several companies, energy auditing companies in each settlement, city or town, and we should make it cheap enough, but we cannot make it cheap on the account of an energy auditor's salary. We should standardize the procedure. People should be able to apply for information and get comprehensive information about energy auditors, about the procedure, etc. And we are able to provide some funding from the Energy Efficiency Fund. And here we are very much oriented upon specific output.
The next question, please introduce yourself. Andriy Melk, Concord Company. We're talking about how to save, how to get, what to do with the houses which were built in Soviet times. Are you planning to reconsider the construction norms? Thank you for this question. Talking about improvement of the norms. We are improving them all the time, but the technologies are changed so much that we are talking not just about thermal modernization, but about sanation of buildings. And that is true about the internal networks, but also on how to preserve cold in summertime. It's not just about windows, it's about airing, about water supply, because many people suffer from getting bad quality water. And we see examples when a house puts the system of purification of water. We are talking not just about norms, but about the possibility to identify construction materials I was pleased when we had the latest forum, the producers of equipment and construction materials offered voluntary classification of building construction materials from the point of view of energy efficiency. It is important when a person is buying some equipment, it is important to see what is the class of energy efficiency, because the difference between 5-chamber, 7-chamber package is big. And so we will need to understand that we need time, but on the other hand, the market should start operating, because the market creates speeding up of all the processes. Thank you. Do you have any other questions? Once not, then we will complete. All the best to you, colleagues. See you again.